I now request Honorable Minister Sir to announce the National Air Sports Policy.
आप सब लोगों का यहाँ आज के ऐतिहासिक दिवस पर आप लोगों का स्वागत है। एक नया इतिहास भारत के नागर विमानन क्षेत्र में प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हम रचने जा रहे हैं। जैसे मैंने आप सब लोगों से कई बार निवेदन किया है, हमारी सोच, विचारधारा, संकल्प और कोशिश सदैव रही है कि नागर विमानन क्षेत्र के मजबूत नींव देश में आज हमें स्थापित करने होंगे। ये एक ऐसी इंडस्ट्री है जो अपने इन्फेंसी से अब ग्रोथ स्टेज में प्रवेश कर चुकी है, और इसलिए मैंने कई बार आप लोगों से निवेदन किया है कि इस इंडस्ट्री में महत्व केवल एयरलाइंस और एयरपोर्ट्स को नहीं, लेकिन इस इंडस्ट्री के समूचे इकोसिस्टम पर हमें ध्यान देना होगा। और मेरी कोशिश रही है प्रधानमंत्री जी के आदेश के अनुसार, उनकी आकांक्षाओं के अनुसार, पिछले करीब 10-11 महीनों में कि भारत में अब इस इकोसिस्टम को हमें स्थापित करना होगा। जिस भारत में 74 से 141 एयरपोर्ट्स बन चुकी हों, जिस भारत में फ्लीट साइज 410 हवाई जहाज से 715 हवाई जहाज तक पहुंच चुकी है, उस भारत में ये इकोसिस्टम स्थापित करना हम लोगों का दायित्व है। और पिछले 10 महीनों में आपने देखा है कि फ्लाइंग ट्रेनिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की नई नीति से, एमआरओ की नई नीति से, ड्रोन पॉलिसी की नई नीति से, कार्गो के क्षेत्र में तीव्र गति देने से, लीजिंग, एयरक्राफ्ट लीजिंग के क्षेत्र में गिफ्ट सिटी में नई कोशिश की शुरुआत करने से, हमारे रेगुलेटरी एजेंसीज डीजीसीए और बीकैस को परिवर्तित करके जीसीए और बीकैस के नवनिर्माण से कई अनूठे पहल और महत्वपूर्ण कदम नई हेलीकॉप्टर पॉलिसी से 10 महीनों में हमने उठाए हैं, और इसका लाभ आने वाले दिनों में हमें जरूर दिखेगा। और इसी तारतम्य में हमारी कोशिश रही है कि एक महत्वपूर्ण अंग जो एयर स्पोर्ट्स का अंग है, उसे भी एक नई जोश, एक नई शुरुआत हम लोग देंगे। And that is why today we are releasing the National Air Sports Policy 2022. And this is after much research, after much consultation, and on the basis of a great resolve that we have come forward to you with this new architecture. Why this is important for India is the fact that we need to look at emerging sectors. नए क्षेत्रों में हमें ध्यान देना होगा, और केवल उन क्षेत्रों में नहीं जहां मैच्योरिटी हो, हाई ग्रोथ हो, लेकिन उन क्षेत्रों में जहां नए नए बीज और नए नए पौधों की शुरुआत हम लोग कर पाए। And the air sports arena is one such area which has the ability to transform into a huge industry in India. Now, why is there this potential in India? The potential is prevalent for multifarious reasons. First of all, India has a huge geographic expanse. That geographic expanse extends from the Himalayas and the mountainous regions and mountainous states to our states in the northeast, to the plains in central India, to the coastal regions on the western eastern coast of India. And therefore you have the ability in this country to have the widest diversity of air sports. Now, combine that geographical advantage along with the demographic dividend that India enjoys. 70% of India's population is below the age of 35. That means we're talking about close to about 950 million people below the age of 35. That's close to 3x the size of the US in terms of population. That's close to 1.5 times the size of a combined Europe, the full population, just in terms of the youth potential in India. And therefore, this is an industry that is ripe for the picking. But it lacked until today an architecture to be able to propel it forward. Also, the fact that the winter period in Europe, North America, and Australia, that must get also alternative locations. And that can be the go-to destination in the form of India for these air sports. Because of the harsh winter conditions in those continents, all of that activity can move to India. The Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, which is the FAI, is the international body that looks after air sports, founded in 1905 with 100 members, of which India is also a member. And currently, India, the revenue is roughly about 80 to 100 crores from air sports, with roughly about 5,000 odd air sports practitioners. पर हमारी विचारधारा में ये रेवेन्यू पोटेंशियल 10 गुना हो सकता है. We can go from 80 to 100 crores to 8,000 to 10,000 crores. We can grow from the 5,000 odd to almost 100,000 direct jobs. And this, mind you, is not taking into account, I repeat, not taking into account the economic multiplier effects of air sports. Now think of the ramifications of air sports for tourism, the ramifications of air sports for travel, the ramification of air sports for support infrastructure, the ramification for air sports for production and manufacture. That economic multiplier can yield close to 3 times more than our projections in terms of multiples of 8 to 10,000 crores in terms of revenue or 100,000 direct jobs. So that is the potential of this unorganized till date industry, which we hope to organize through this architecture. So what is this policy? We have formed a body called the ASFI, the Air Sports Federation of India. And therein will be a 4-tiered structure. ASFI, headed by the Secretary of Ministry of Civil Aviation, under which will be directly the national associations for each particular sport. So every particular sport will have a vertical national association, which will elect its own body, which will have its own members. Nothing to do with government. Below that will be the regional or state associations, and below that will be the district associations. So you will have, in many ways, a 4-tiered structure, headed by the Air Sports Federation of India. Each association can each association, the president and secretary of each association will be represented in the ASFI as full members with votes. We will have the Aero Club of India also as a member, and we will have 3 eminent experts from the private sector and their own secretariat. We've engaged in a very long process of consultation through the drafting committee. The first draft was published on the 1st of January 2022 on the basis of multiple comments that we've got from multiple ministries, the private sector, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, the Ministry of Tourism, the Army, the Indian Air Force, the NCC, experts from air sports. And so therefore, on the basis of this draft that was published for comments, we've developed the final air sports policy, which has also recognized 6 new air sports, which were hitherto not included in the earlier list. And those are model rocketry, powered gliding, powered hang gliding, parachuting, powered aircraft, and rotorcraft. So we have an amalgam of close to about 11 air sports, and we are going to expand the list as we go along. And the key distinction here to note is, whereas on the one side you will have 8 members of Air Sports Federation of India from the government, mainly Ministry of Civil Aviation, Youth Affairs and Sports, Defence, Home Affairs, Tourism, DGCA, BCAS, Airports Authority of India, and the NCC. You will have 3 times that number from the private sector. 13 verticals, national sports, air sports associations, of which the president and the secretary will be a member of ASFI. So this will be a private sector-led initiative in the truest form of the word, to make sure that this sector thrives in the days to come. The promotion for this sector will be driven by multifarious wings. The states, the union territories, the national associations on the one hand. We are looking at the corporates entering this area in a large field on the second hand. The third hand, the armed forces, the central armed police forces, the state police, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Home Affairs, which already have excellent training centers in many parts of the country. On the fourth hand, we already have multiple locations for air sports established in India, which we hope to grow, proliferate in the days to come. Some examples for you are Bir Billing in Himachal for paragliding, Pushkar in Rajasthan for hot air ballooning, Kangra in Himachal for hang gliding, Pune and Mumbai for paramotoring, Mysore, Narnaul, Pondicherry, Desa, and Dhana in Madhya Pradesh for skydiving. And we have a gliding center that DGC operates in Hadapsar in Maharashtra as well. We're also looking forward to schools, colleges, and universities participating very, very actively in the days to come. And we're also cogitating over a possible incentive scheme to push forward manufacturing of air sports equipment in India in the future. Now, there's also an important word of caution here. We must make sure that safety is maintained. There is a very high level of risk with air sports as well. And therefore, on the first hand, we must ensure that there's complete coordination with ATC as we roll this out. Every national sports association will have to rely on airspace data published by the Aeronautical Information Publication, as well as NOTAM, which is a Notice to Airmen. Along with that, every national sports association will have to take permission from ATC and get the clearances from ATC. We're also thinking of creating a segregated airspace for air sports in certain corridors, much like what we have done with drones. And therefore, that will help in proliferating this sport going up. We've also put in place penalties, fines, and levies for those who disregard safety requirements, including suspensions. And net, I think it's time for India to emerge as a global capital for air sports, leveraging the energy of our youth. And we hope that we participate in global competitions, host international events in India, and in the years to come, emerge as a global hub for air sports in the world. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Ms. Sheetal Mahajan to speak about the policy. She is a well-known skydiver and holder of world records in the sports. Ms. Sheetal was honored with Padma Shri in 2011. She has joined us online. Ms. Sheetal, please.
Amazing national aerospace sport. Actually, जो भी points यहाँ पे included किए उसमें first I would say
Will it come on the screen?
शीतल जी को स्क्रीन पे ले रही है
I don't think she's being able to connect. Secretary, DGCAI. I don't think they're connecting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's open it up for questions. Any questions?
Please identify yourself.
Sir, good morning, sir. This is Bhupen Singh from All India Radio, sir. So my question is, what are the sectors which will benefit from this policy, and what kind of employment opportunities will be created?
If you had just heard what I had said, I had mentioned that we've looked at 6 new inclusions in this report and this policy that we have just enunciated, and those include, as I mentioned, hang gliding, aerobatics, aero modeling, model rocketry, experimental aircraft, ballooning, drones, gliding and powered gliding, hang gliding and powered hang gliding, parachuting, paragliding and paramotoring, powered aircraft and rotorcraft. In terms of the employment opportunities, I have also mentioned in my opening remarks that currently you have 5,000 odd practitioners, a revenue of roughly 80 to 100 crores. We see the number of practitioners going up 20-fold to close to about generation of 1 lakh direct jobs, and the revenue potential going up 10-fold from 80 to 100 crores to almost 8,000 to 10,000 crores, which is almost a 100-fold jump in terms of revenues and a 20-fold jump in terms of direct jobs being created. So 5,000 direct jobs going to 1 lakh and 80 to 100 crore of revenue going to close to 8,000 crore revenue.
सर ये इसकी पोटेंशियल को टैप करने के लिए जो बहुत सारे लोगों को एंगेज करना पड़ेगा, तो क्या कोई ट्रेनिंग सेंटर भी जैसे भारत में भी स्थापित करने का आपका इरादा है जिसमें यूथ को ट्रेन किया जाए?
जैसे हमने अभी ये नेशनल एयर स्पोर्ट्स पॉलिसी घोषित की है, इसमें हर एक स्पोर्ट के लिए एक अलग नेशनल स्पोर्ट्स एसोसिएशन बनने वाला है, और इस एसोसिएशन हर एक एसोसिएशन निजी क्षेत्र के द्वारा बनाया जाएगा। मैक्सिमम गवर्नेंस मिनिमम गवर्नमेंट की जो हमारी अप्रोच है, निजी क्षेत्र को प्रोत्साहित करके हम लोग आगे बढ़े। इसलिए मैंने सरकार के प्रतिनिधियों को भी केवल 4 तक सीमित रखा है। केवल सेक्रेटरी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सिविल एविएशन, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सिविल एविएशन, एक प्रतिनिधि डीजीसीए से और एक प्रतिनिधि एयरपोर्ट्स अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया से, केवल 4 तक सीमित होगा। और निजी क्षेत्र के प्रतिनिधि एक वर्टिकल के 13 एसोसिएशन हैं, तो उसके अध्यक्ष और उसके सेक्रेटरी सचिव को, तो मतलब 26 लोग निजी क्षेत्र से, 3 एमिनेंट एक्सपर्ट्स, तो मतलब 3 और, तो 29 हो गए। और उसके अलावा कोई और भी ये चाहे, ये सारे एयर स्पोर्ट्स फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के मेंबर्स होंगे। तो आप मान लो कि 33 में से केवल 4 सरकारी लोग होंगे, बाकी सब निजी क्षेत्र से होंगे। निजी क्षेत्र को हम लोग प्रोत्साहित करें, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है उनकी क्षमता के आधार पर ये क्षेत्र आगे बढ़ेगा। और जहाँ तक अनुभव प्राप्ति का विषय है, कौशल विकास का विषय है। कई ऐसे इंस्टीट्यूट्स ऑलरेडी भारत में लग चुके हैं और उनको ज़्यादा प्रोत्साहित करना हम लोगों का दायित्व रहेगा।
So I'm Jagrati from the Hindu. What will be the role of the ASFAI and the four-tiered structure? And what about issues like who's going to do safety oversight? Will the charges that are being levied by different providers of aero sports, will those also be monitored or will they be prescribed by these associations?
I certainly believe that you have to give an overarching body structure to enable the furtherment of the sport. That body structure will be through ASFI, in which the Secretary of the Ministry of Civil Aviation will be the chairperson. But as I mentioned, you will have 26 members from all the 13 verticals, plus you will have 3 eminent experts, plus you will have the Aero Club of India as a member, and you will have 4 members from government. So there will be 34 members, of which, from a practical standpoint, only 4 members from government. I believe that you must unleash the power of the private sector. You must unleash the power of youth potential. You must unleash the power of entrepreneurship. And government has to play the role of only a guiding force. Even through this process, let me tell you, the drafting process, there has been a lot of learning from us, from the initiatives taken from the private sector. And therefore, we have to work as facilitators, which is what I have underlined multiple times with you during my interaction, and not as regulators. As far as safety issues are concerned, those are going to be prescribed in great detail by the ASFI itself, which will compose of these 34 members. And those safety guidelines will have to be followed by each national sport association who is a member of ASFI. Similarly, every state sport association who will be a member of the National Sport Association, and every district sport association who will be a member of the state sport association. So those safety guidelines will flow all the way down to the grassroots level. But those safety guidelines will be mandated by ASFI as a body. I'll just come around.
So my question is about, you mentioned that you want India to emerge as an alternative to when there are winter months in the US, Australia, Europe, etc. How are you going to incentivize sector players? And secondly, you mentioned about the segregation of airspace as well. You said much like drones, but any sort of thoughts and points on?
So I believe that you need to put in place the architecture, the formal architecture to enable growth of this sector. Point 1. So the key word here is a formal architecture. Point 2. The second key word here is government must play the role of a facilitator. And therefore, through ASFI, set up these individual national sport associations. I have identified 13 such associations that need to be set up, but there could be many more. This list is not exhaustive. As we go along, we will keep expanding this list. And then each sport association must similarly establish its state body and its district body. That will lead to a formal structure through which each air sport will proliferate. Mind you, there is also an issue of core competency and locational advantage. So when I mentioned, for example, hot air ballooning as a site in Rajasthan, now certainly you can't do hot air ballooning in other parts of the country. So you will have clusters that will form based on the geographical locational advantages of that particular state. So you may have hang gliding in Himachal or in Uttarakhand, but may not necessarily be the case in other states. You may have skydiving emerging as a cluster in 3 or 4 states, but that must evolve on its own independently. The second point you raised is with regard to segregated airspaces. You will have to form, and that's why we made it a part of the policy, certain limited air corridors for that 3-mile radius or 5-mile radius to allow uninhibited activity of that sport in that area. That facilitates the proliferation of that sport so that you don't have to go and get permissions every day. So those air corridors will be formed by us, like drones, up to a certain height, up to a certain radii. That will allow for that growth of that sport. Now, ballooning will require a very different prescriptive air corridor than, let's say, for example, hang gliding, because you'll need a different height corridor, you'll need a different width corridor. So those are the things that ASFI and the ministry will do together to be able to facilitate the growth of this industry.
कौन से इसमें ऐसे एयर स्पोर्ट्स कौन से एयर स्पोर्ट्स इसमें लिस्टेड होंगे, किस तरीके से कॉमन मैन
आपके साथी ने इस प्रश्न को ऑलरेडी उठा लिया, जिसका उत्तर मैंने अभी दिया। हमने 13 स्पोर्ट्स हम लोग ने आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं, जो मैंने अभी इनको सुनाया था। उसमें एरोबैटिक्स, एरो मॉडलिंग और मॉडल रॉकेटरी, एमेच्योर बिल्ट और एक्सपेरिमेंटल एयरक्राफ्ट, बलूनिंग, ड्रोन्स, ग्लाइडिंग और पावर्ड ग्लाइडिंग, हैंग ग्लाइडिंग और पावर्ड हैंग ग्लाइडिंग, पैराशूटिंग, पैराग्लाइडिंग और पैरामोटरिंग, पावर्ड एयरक्राफ्ट, माइक्रोलाइट, लाइट स्पोर्ट्स एयरक्राफ्ट और रोटरक्राफ्ट। ये 11 हमने अभी रेखांकित किए हैं, पर ये और भी बढ़ सकते हैं और इसमें आप अनुमान नहीं लगा सकते। और आपको आश्चर्य होगा कि कई राज्यों में इनकी छोटी छोटी टोलियां और छोटी छोटी कंपनियां आज भी कार्य कर रही हैं। जब मैंने आपको कहा 5000 इंथुजियास्ट इसमें ऑलरेडी देश में लगे हुए हैं और 80 से 100 करोड़ की रेवेन्यू आज ही है, इसको हम 20 गुना बढ़ाकर 5000 से 1 लाख रोजगार के अवसर तक ले जाना चाहते हैं और 80 से 100 करोड़ की रेवेन्यू से 100 गुना बढ़ाकर 10,000 करोड़ तक हम लोग ले जाना चाहते हैं। तो ये हमारा लक्ष्य है, ये हमारी आशा है। और आप देखेंगे कि जब ये स्ट्रक्चर दिया जाएगा तब कितने कंपनियां खुलेंगी जो ट्रेनिंग के आधार पर इस क्षेत्र को आगे ले जाएंगी।
I just have a small question. In the draft notification, we had also mentioned about requesting GST for rationalizing sports equipment. Could I have some details about it?
That is still something that's work in progress. We will be working with the Ministry of Finance to see what are the processes that we can put in place to make that fungible. But at this point of time, that's still WIP. Okay, good.
maybe
एक मिनट।
सर मैं शुभ हूँ ऐसे मेरा सवाल ये है कि बहुत सारे ऐसे जो गेम्स हैं वो वर्ल्ड वाइड इसको खिलाया जाता है, तो क्या भारत की जो भाग है क्रिकेट की तरह इंटरनेशनल गेम्स में भी होंगे क्या?
जैसे मैंने आपको अपने वक्तव्य में कहा कि हमारा 2 धारणाओं का लक्ष्य है। हमारी पहली कोशिश ये है कि हमारे इंथुजियास्ट वायु स्पोर्ट्स के अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कॉम्पिटिशन्स में भारत का प्रतिनिधित्व करें, जैसे आज भी हो रहा है। अभी हम लोग कनेक्ट नहीं हो पाए, पर 1-2 से हम वक्तव्य भी इसी कार्यक्रम में हम चाहते थे। दूसरा लक्ष्य ये है कि 2-3 साल 4 साल में इस क्षेत्र की बढ़ोतरी को देखकर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय प्रतियोगिता उन देशों में रखने के बजाय हम लोग भारत में होस्ट करें। तो दोनों धारणाओं का हम लोगों का लक्ष्य है आने वाले दिन।
सर शीतल जी अब हमसे जुड़ी हुई हैं।
हाँ,
हम शीतल जी से सुनना चाहेंगे कि वो क्या कहना चाहती है इस पॉलिसी के बारे में।
शीतल, आप जरूर आप कनेक्टेड हो। शीतल, वॉल्यूम लगा दीजिएगा जरा,
अनम्यूट कर लीजिए अपने आप को।
No, get together.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible. Go ahead, Sheetal.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I'm very happy आज नेशनल एरो स्पोर्ट्स पॉलिसी आई है। पहले बहुत सारी चीजें इंडिया में हो नहीं रही थी एरो स्पोर्ट्स के लिए। इट वाज नॉट इवन रिकॉग्नाइज्ड। पॉलिसी के वजह से हमें बहुत बड़ा प्लेटफॉर्म मिलेगा जहाँ से हम इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट भी कर सकते हैं इंटरनेशनली, और हमें इंडिया में भी बहुत सारी चीजें एरो स्पोर्ट्स को कंडक्ट करने के लिए हेल्प मिल रही है, स्पेशली इन टैक्सेशन ऑल्सो एंड इम्पोर्ट करने के लिए इक्विपमेंट। हम इंडिया में बहुत सारे खेल नहीं पा रहे थे बिकॉज इम्पोर्ट टैक्सेस ज्यादा थे, उसमें भी हमें मिलने वाली है।
Go ahead, Sheetal.
सर I'm very much happy ये पॉलिसी फाइनली आई है, क्योंकि पहले हमें कोई सपोर्ट नहीं मिलता था। अभी ASFI के थ्रू वी विल हैव हर स्पोर्ट्स की जो फेडरेशन होगी, फेडरेशन के अंडर स्टेट लेवल होगा। जैसे आपने जो नेटवर्क बताया 4 ईयर का जो नेटवर्क रहेगा, that will really help to grow aero sports in India, and also youngsters जिनको आपने एजुकेशन पार्ट में भी मेंशन करा है कि आर्म फोर्सेस के साथ टाई अप करके या फिर जो भी अभी एस्टैब्लिश एसोसिएशन है उनके साथ टाई अप करके हम एरो स्पोर्ट्स को सपोर्ट करने वाले हैं। ये बहुत बड़ा टर्निंग पॉइंट होगा टू ब्रिंग यंगस्टर्स टुवर्ड्स एरो स्पोर्ट्स, बिकॉज बहुत सारे लोग क्रिकेट में जाते हैं और दूसरे बहुत सारे स्पोर्ट्स हैं जिनको सराहा जाता है। अभी एरो स्पोर्ट्स को वही दर्जा, वही रिस्पेक्ट मिलेगा थ्रू दिस पॉलिसी। दिस इज व्हाट आई फील।
Thank you, Sheetal. Rachel, are you online? Sheetal, can you put it on mute now? Sheetal, can you put it on mute? Rachel, can you unmute yourself?
Good everyone. Great privilege to discuss on with everyone from the background policy comes from. It is something that I month right from the second. There's so many people. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
Should I start again?
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. For me, I would say a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work, and that's what the Ministry of Civil Aviation has done for the last year more. I'm really grateful and thankful that such great initiative is taken for the country. It's such a wonderful thing to see for the Honorable Minister has from the schools, from child, people get introduced into aviation sports, into aviation, and the beauty about anything in aviation is you have to learn to take a decision in a split second. It could be in any discipline in aviation. You have to be alert all the time, and it changes your personality. I am so grateful. I started the sport in 1979, and I am decades old, but I have struggled. But today, seeing my country coming so much ahead is such a pride for me. I've only heard this being said in Turkey when Atatürk said it to the Turks that the sky is the limit. Today, India is saying it, the sky is the limit. Go and conquer it. Let your dreams be your wings. That is what I would say to everyone. Let your dreams be your wings. Fly. Fly like an eagle, soar, and enjoy the beauty of what the creation God has made of the sky. Thank you everyone for having me over, and thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts with all of you. Thank you, Honorable Minister, and everyone in the Civil Aviation Ministry for all the hard work you have done. Bless you all, that this should be a success by the year 30.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. She is a well-known Indian skydiver who is also the winner of National Adventures Sports Award and was honored with Padam Shri in 2005. Now I request our media fellows who have joined online, if they have any questions, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself and then ask the question. If there is none, thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And friends, please join us for tea and coffee.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
गाड़ी कंसेप्ट गाड़ी पहले भी देते रहे जितने के
Even bother. Even bother about it. I won't bother.
That's right.
Everything will follow. We have the overarching structure, our tier structure. Now the national federation, the sports federation has to be formed. Maybe we can just sit down and take some more questions. Also share the presentation and stuff. That will answer all of those questions. So, let me just check. You're just asking to upload within half an hour. Just clicking upload. Shriya. Yeah, I think I'm going. अंकिता मेरे को वेबसाइट अपलोड हो गया वेबसाइट अपलोड करवा दो
It's been uploaded. It's uploaded, sir.
Excuse me, so the policy has been now uploaded. Okay,